It's time for EdTech Mondays, brought to you by MasterCard Foundation and CC Hub.
Welcome to another episode of EdTech Mondays Nigeria, a show that explores the dynamic world of education technology. I am Chinyelu Akpa, your host, and it is good to be here again. Today, we continue the conversation on assessing the impact of EdTech on learning outcomes. Our guest today is an education technology and development professional who is deeply committed to improving learning outcomes through education technology. He has a remarkable background in leveraging EdTech to enhance teaching and learning, and we are excited to delve into how EdTech impacts learning outcomes. Welcome on the show today, Sunday Daniel. Hello, Sunday. It's good to have you here.
Hi, Chielu. Thank you for having me. It's so great to be here.
Okay, so as is our culture, on this show, I like to always ask my guests, why the education sector? And as a young man, why did you choose education? Why aren't you in engineering, finance? How have you decided to find, to drive outcomes and drive impacts in education and EdTech?
Thank you very much, Chielu. I think the question is, a really good one for me because I was inspired by my primary five teacher who really took his time to explain concept to us because most of us in his classroom were struggling with math, with English as at then. But he went the extra mile to dedicate his time, even extra hours, to ensure that we know the concept he's teaching us and we are able to also demonstrate the proficiency in the exams. And with that, and I wanted to be a doctor when I was growing up, but my path changed because I was inspired. My mother was also like a Sunday school teacher, and that also inspired me. So my primary five teacher and my mother are two people that have inspired me to be in the education sector today. And I found true value in adding value to children, adding value to teachers, and just ensuring that the education space in Nigeria is thriving and improving daily.
Thank you. That's really inspiring. It's always, interesting and beautiful to see where a lot of people who are currently, making giant strides in education can trace back, their journey and their passion and their enthusiasm to make a mark in education to a teacher, or someone like a teacher who paid extra attention to them and gave them extra support. So that's very inspiring to hear. So let's get into the meat of the conversation. You have worked with various EdTech platforms and on different, projects and initiatives. So tell us, from your experience, how has the integration of technology impacted learning outcomes, particularly in low-income communities, underserved schools, low-income schools? And I asked this because, a lot of people, including our listeners, still believe that EdTech might not be a tool of choice when it comes to making things happen or shifting the needle for people in underserved communities because they feel it is elitist, it's expensive. So have you seen any impact of EdTech in achieving improved learning outcomes in this type of setting?
Yeah, so in low-income communities and underserved schools, having worked there as a teacher and taking my laptop to the class to show my learners videos from YouTube, connecting my classroom to another teacher's classroom in Spain, in other countries like USA as well, uh, sh- connecting them with learners from other places, from other countries, has shown the impact that technology can have in these communities as well. You just have to work with what you have, especially leveraging low tech. Low tech in the sense that we know that internet bandwidth might not have penetrated a lot in these areas, but the fact that you as a teacher is going the extra mile to use your own network and your own laptops. There might not be a computer lab in the school. Like for the school that I work with, there's no computer lab. I had to use my laptop every day, go extra mile to charge, and show my learners videos. And when it comes to these digital tools, learners are really inspired and excited to see something happening with technology because they see maybe computers in TVs, they see computers in movies. So when they look at these things and they see their teacher going extra mile to bring it into their classroom, they are inspired to learn, and you're able to show them some things that you've been teaching them. For example, maybe you're teaching them history and you show them a documentary that talks about maybe history of a certain place, maybe Chacha of Okubo, and you're able to, as you are showing them the documentary, you're also stopping the videos to explain what is being said, so that in case of big grammar, you are breaking it down for them. And when you also think about supporting your instruction, helping them to see videos, we also did something in my school related to VR for learning, virtual reality, and we gave some learners the virtual reality headsets to wear and imagine, the countless possibilities that they will think about. Imagine visiting the museum in Egypt from Ogun State, and you're just there. So how this has helped to um, ensure that they are learning and their learning is being improved on a daily basis is that the other teachers in the school, once they see that this is happening, they are not using technology in their classrooms. But because we started using it, they started asking us for support. How can I use my phone to play videos? How can I use that was when also the Jolly Phonics application came out, and they were using their phone and their speakers and their Bluetooth speakers to play sounds for children in the classroom. And this inspired a lot of learners because they are able to know how to pronounce words. They are also able to see how it is being pronounced and how words are being formed. And this did a lot of wonders, and they are able to say, oh, I can use my phone and my Bluetooth speaker in my classroom. So teachers started adopting this, and it made their teaching easy. It made it interesting. It shifted from the traditional way of teaching, from the conventional way. They are able to um,
It
integrate
makes the class
technology.
come alive.
Yes, it makes the class come alive, and the learners are interested in learning because for a long time, learners in this kind of communities think speakers are just for music. They do know
Mm,
that it could be used for learning, and this made them think back to the time that they are able to say, to even tell their parents at home that I can use your phone to watch a YouTube video, I can use your phone to search Google for a word, I can use your dictionary to check for a meaning of a word. And this is what my teacher did today. And teachers in our school and even we ourselves became popular because of how we use technology to impact learning outcomes. Learners are coming to school because they are like, we are going to see something interesting today as
okay.
regards technology, as regards learning, interesting learning, or when we talk about learning is fun, right? Learning became fun for them. They are able to say, my classroom, I'm not just listening to my teacher alone. I'm also looking at, kids like me pronouncing words.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, son. It's very interesting seeing how, or hearing you rather just explain in full detail. And I'm sure that our listeners have had a very immersive experience, and it's I can borrow in that experience. I can share in that experience because I know when I was posted for my national youth service, in Oyo State, I was posted to a school as well, and I had to teach physical education at some point. And what brought the class alive was that I had a laptop, and I had my smartphones. And I remember that the first lesson I took was on, I think it was on tennis, and we were showing them different types of courts. So you have the acrylic court, you have the grass, and all of that came alive to them. So when they hear acrylic, they could relate to what it was, and they could see that the grasses they had in their school were the same. So when they see it, they don't think it's something very outlandish. So it
Yeah.
really did help. And when other teachers as well saw that there was something different, there was a difference in even how the students were paying rapt attention to something, you would term as laid back as physical education, it's influenced them to want to do something else, because everybody at that time had a smartphone, or well, a lot of them had smartphones and were doing at least the basic thing. And very interesting as well is what you have talked about, low tech. And I think I want us to drill a little bit deeper, around low tech, and how we can use low tech platforms really to drive learning, and also assessing how this impacts learning outcomes. So my next question would tether on that end. When you talk about low-end platforms for EdTech, you mentioned, for instance, video. I know that I have heard a lot of our guests, and even by my own personal experience, seeing learners and schools, education happen on WhatsApp. And I do tag WhatsApp as a low tech platform. They are similar low tech. You have a lot of master classes and teachings that happen on things like Telegram, and they're low tech because a lot of people have access to them. You don't need to pay so much or have huge subscription fees to use them. But how do we now assess that all of these are working? When you're introducing these videos, when you're using your WhatsApp to have classes, how do you think we can assess the impact of this ethic? Because it goes beyond just curiosity and engagement. How are we sure that these learners are learning? And I'm asking this the same way I asked my guest last week, Rhoda. Do you think we should have a different way to assess learning when it comes to EdTech? Because traditional teaching and learning, chalk paper-based education tells us that it's just tests and assignments. You're marking attendance in the classroom, or marking 10 over 10, 5 over 10 classwork and tests and exams. What do you think EdTech should look at now when they're trying to track improvement in learning outcomes?
Thank you very much for that question. Uh, when I think about this, I just wanted to also establish that I studied educational technology, and when I got admission, I had to go on Google to say what is educational technology. It was a way to integrate technology into education. And when I think about this, and I think about the question you asked me about WhatsApp, about Telegram, the use of polls on WhatsApp can be a way to assess learning, right? And also, in terms of writing, people can record videos, maybe 1 minute video, to answer a question, or people can record a voice note to answer an assessment. Or you can send a set of questions and say, respond to this with a video or with a 1 minute video, or respond to the following with a voice note, right? And if you really want to make sure that maybe there's no form of malpractice or no form of copying, you can also host a WhatsApp, and everybody is on their phones and they are responding real time to questions. And when we think about low tech is more suitable for continuous learning, in the sense that when you want to establish a learning concept, I think it's always good to have like maybe a YouTube video or a YouTube resource or something that is uh, that can be stored somewhere, or maybe even a physical class, but for continuous development or continuous follow-up or continuous learning. I think WhatsApp, Telegram are actually good for those, right? But when you're starting to introduce a concept, I'm of the school of thought that you should start from something that can be stored, either a Zoom meeting that you can record, or a YouTube video that can be stored and downloaded, or probably a learning platform that people can go on and access videos from there. But when you talk about real-time continuous learning, then WhatsApp can be used to track those, or Telegram can be used to track those. People can send in maybe reflections from the videos they've watched. People can send in answer to assessment questions and probably upload a video or upload a voice note to say, oh, these are my responses to this question. And because a lot of people might be too tired from typing, if it's going to be a lot of questions, they can easily record their voice. And I also think that it can be more effective if
if people are able to maybe record a video or send a voice note, right? I think it can be tracked that way. And also the use of Google Forms, use of quizzes and all of that can also be used. But I think WhatsApp, Telegram can be used for continuous engagement and continuous learning. And one can use it to monitor the progress of different people that are learning at different times and also know the kind of support to also give them. So I think these platforms can work hand in hand with other platforms with continuous learning. And I think assessment can also be possible with them as well, using polls, using voice notes, using short videos just to engage people, and also live WhatsApp calls as well.
All right. It's interesting, and I like to really hone in on this. I like how you've explained the various other, and I'll call them low tech as well, low tech ways we can engage and get good feedback. I tell people that when designing various edtech or build developers, when I have conversations with them, that it would be good to see how if a child spends 1 hour, on this your solution, how much impact it will make on them. So we can tell that a child needs to spend, say, 2 hours, 3 hours on a particular solution, on a particular product rather. And if they do that every day, for 5 days in a week and down like that for a month period, you can track how much improvement they have had in a particular subject matter, how they've been able to get better, how they've been able to do their sums better, understand a particular concept better. I also like what you said about, voice conversation, because that is not something that is very encouraged sometimes, in our traditional setting. So by, EdTech, you can also design specific ways of getting feedback from your learners. And it's interesting to see a solution that allows learners explain in their own language what they have learned from interactions they have had. So imagine where you're sitting, listening to a video explaining a particular concept, and at the end of the day, you're asking the child not to type something or not to answer short multiple choice questions, but to explain to you in a 1 minute or a 2 minutes voice note what they think about what they've learned. So thank you, and I'm sure that our developers, our edtech founders are listening and taking note of what you have mentioned. So finally, Sunday, looking ahead, what innovations in edtech do you believe will be the most impactful in enhancing learning outcomes across Africa? We've heard so much. I don't want to, give you ideas, but allow me to say artificial intelligence, machine learning. There's so much hype, and buzz around this. I think, as someone told me, we have gone through the hype, we are in the hope period, and very soon we'll come to the truth of it. So what innovations should EdTech expect that would really transform teaching and learning for us in Africa?
One of the most interesting innovations that I've thought about recently is actually beyond Zoom, beyond Google Meet. I'm looking forward to a time where when we have mobile-based platforms and low-cost digital tools, that can provide tailored learning, to people's unique needs. To say this is specifically for people in low-income communities. This is specifically for people in middle-income communities or people in high-income communities. Even though it's equal access, there is still a need to adapt these things to people that are in the innermost part of Nigeria, innermost part of Africa, innermost part of the world. To say even places where there's no network bandwidth, if we're able to get things to get these things accessible to them, in the sense that I think one of the things to start with is tech infrastructure tailored to these communities, in the sense that when you are equipping maybe teachers with digital skills in a particular community now, how do you ensure that they are continuously learning? What are the monitoring parameters to say, oh, are they using these innovations well? To say when you teach teachers about or when you drive a learning about artificial intelligence to teachers in some particular areas, how do you ensure that they are using it well? How do you ensure that they are not copying and pasting what exactly, maybe an AI tool like ChatGPT gives them? How are they also integrating what they know already, the knowledge they have, the experience they have, into what they are giving as a prompt to ChatGPT that is just helping them to refine it? And these days, I mean, we have a lot of plagiarized content from ChatGPT used by people even to answer questions. And when we think about these things, I also think that mobile platforms, mobile networks also have a role to play in ensuring that there is a bit of bandwidth in a lot of areas. Like they can expand quality education in this area by just providing masts, so that even devices such as a phone can access YouTube, can also download offline videos to say this. And this takes me to what we did with each during the pandemic. I worked with each during the pandemic with this group of people, and we curated videos from YouTube for learners across Africa. And how these videos were used was that they were put in a low-tech device that doesn't use internet, and they were accessible to children. And also another thing that I did in my own community during the pandemic was that using worksheets. So these ways are ways that I had to adapt to during that time. But looking ahead, I'm looking forward to a time where we'll be able to have, stable network in all the areas that children are studying or children are schooling, just for them to be able to have this experience and this tech experience. Low-cost digital tools are very important, so that when they get out there, when they get to the university, when they get to other countries, they'll be able to fit in. Even if not fit in perfectly, they'll be able to acclimatize easily to these devices. Because right now, the fact that we showed some children videos on a computer, they've never seen a computer before. Some of them have not touched a computer before. And we giving them that opportunity, give them the confidence and boldness to say, I want to maybe be a computer scientist, or I want to be a computer engineer, to say I want to learn more about these things. And not just those small those small acts might have inspired some children to want to study computer science at a greater scale. And for policymakers, I think they need to focus on infrastructure development, teacher training, and integrating these technologies into curriculum. When you have infrastructure for IT and you are able to train teachers on these things, on harnessing these tools perfectly, I think it works well. But in a bid to train teachers and to use technology in their classroom, and you don't give them the tools that they need, the knowledge will become obsolete. And even if they are able to use it in certain places, they might not be able to replicate it in their schools. But if these schools have the needed infrastructure and the teachers are able to apply what they are learning to their school, learning outcomes are improved and learners are able to compete favorably with their peers from around the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sunday, for that beautiful submission. I like how you took the bait on what, artificial intelligence can do for us. And I see, as you have mentioned, and a lot of other people have mentioned as well, having more tools that are artificial intelligence enabled, AI enabled, but can serve as productive assistants, for both the teachers and, the learners. Would stop things like plagiarism and provide contextualized learning content for teachers so that they have effective teaching content and resources and can support learners with research and things like that. I also like how you're really drilling on, connectivity and providing access, making some things low bandwidth so that people in underserved communities who might not have tools with very big bandwidth can use the solutions on whatever types of feature phones that they have. So thank you so much, Sunday, for being on the show today. It was very interesting speaking to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you. And to you, our listeners, what are your thoughts on this month's conversation? How do you want to see EdTech improving learning outcomes? If you are in the EdTech ecosystem already, how do you think EdTech should be designed to measure learning outcomes? Do you think we need specific standards for measuring learning outcomes for EdTech? Would love to hear from you. Send us an SMS or a WhatsApp message at 0703 165 0809. Remember, the conversation does not end here. Share your thoughts with us on our WhatsApp and Telegram channels at EdTech Mondays Nigeria. And also, do not forget, you can also catch up on previous episodes of the EdTech Mondays Nigeria show on Spotify and on YouTube. If you have enjoyed today's show, please like, share, and subscribe on these platforms so you remain in the loop of things and can join the conversation. Thank you for being a part of today's episode. I remain your host, Chinyelu Akpa. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep pushing the boundaries of EdTech in Nigeria. Bye.
EdTech Monday is proudly brought to you by MasterCard Foundation and CC Hub.